So back in June, um, I got invited to a meeting at the school that I was working. And look, I'm not a certified teacher. I have a bachelor's degree in chemical engineering and a master's in environmental engineering. I know maths, I know science. I don't have teacher certification because that is not my trade. I do have a engineering certificate in New York State, and it's only the what they call the engineering training, or in my case, it's a intern engineer because I took my tests in Puerto Rico before I moved to New York. The one thing that has been preventing me from working as an engineer on my own is that I don't have a professional engineer's license. And that's been one of my goals to get my professional engineer's license. But to get that, it's not any job that I can take to get that license. I have to get a job under an engineer and doing engineering work, not a job at Home Depot or any other job out there. Um, I do have my master's degree though, but yeah, doesn't help me at all, in my opinion. Plus the lack of experience. I work for the government, and the government is mostly making sure that everybody's following the regulations. So it's not a lot of like working in the field and in environmental engineering. You want to be working in the field to get experience. So um, it is what it is. However, I have had to work jobs. And I made a difference because there's career. So career is something that you do, you learn, you grow, you earn more as and you progress because you're learning more, and more. So it set you up for something better. A job is just something that you do just to get money, and even though some companies call the jobs that they offer like careers, they're not careers. An hourly retail job is not a career in my opinion. You're not developing skills further that you have. You're just getting stuck into a position, just doing the same thing over and over and over again. It's still a job, and it should be compensated with a higher income. However, lately, and the one thing that has been affecting me is the fact that some of these jobs they just want to pay so little that it's impossible for an adult person to meet the basic needs. Most of these jobs in stores and all that kind of stuff they are part time, and it's just depressing, honestly. And my mental health is just I'm just tired of this. I'm just tired of the system that we humans have created, and it makes me angry. It makes me depressed, and I feel like I'm against a wall because sometimes I don't know what else to do. Yeah, I could go and start my own business if I had money, but like I need money to be able to start my own business. And it's difficult because if you work part time, you can barely cover cost of rent. And I'm lucky I live in New York where the minimum wage is higher than the minimum wage that we have in the nation. In other states, in parts of the country, the minimum wage is only 7.25 an hour, and that really doesn't help people pay make ends meet. And meanwhile, we have politicians in Washington D.C. doing whatever they want to and debating whether they should increase the minimum wage because apparently if they increase the minimum wage, people are not going to get motivation to seek something better, to better themselves. It's ridiculous that they talk about that, honestly. And then they call themselves Christians and they talk about how they follow the Bible or Jesus Christ. But Jesus Christ will be the first one like will have feed anybody in the crowd, without asking them for money or anything like that. But they don't do that. Anyway, I could go on, but I don't want to. But I just have to say that it's just like it's frustrating to search for a job. And I'm not even Gen Z, and there are times that I have thought about like just walking away from the system because I'm just tired. I've been working since I was 22, and I remember wor- taking my first job. I enjoy it, but I'm just tired of so many of the shenanigans or the excuses that people do. Sometimes I go and mention that I would love if I could get a higher wage, and the interviewers or the person of HR, their eyes pop out like they're like, "Oh my gosh, how dare you!" I'm like, look, it's expensive. Things in New York are expensive. I just went to Home Depot and I got a job for $18 an hour. $18 an hour. 3 years ago, I was getting working in a manufacturing company for 18.50 an hour, and that was before things started to go up in price, and everything started to go up. $18 an hour is like going backwards. Like my income went backwards in, in the inflation scale, and it's just sad and depressing, honestly. It's what's the point? What's the point? Why are we working? Honestly, who are we satisfying? It's sad. It's ridiculous, and I don't know how to solve the situation. I don't think the politicians are willing to do what they need to do to be able to solve the situation. They are still debating whether they should increase the taxes of the rich and the millionaire, but we know they're not going to do that. They really aren't. It's just sad. It's really sad, honestly. And I don't know. I don't know. I just wish that society changes and that the politicians that we like, they get the guts to be able to do something about this, because I probably not the only one. There's people that probably have family that are struggling and they're doing way worse and are realizing the same thing. And I think it's time to change that, honestly. And I cannot do it alone, but I think we're all in this boat, and I think we probably, if we talk to our politicians, if we put pressure on them, I think we'll probably change things. But anyway, that's all I have. Bye.